They start coming over and hanging out and being, starting conversations with me and then saying, "Hey, do you want to go for a walk?" I'd be like, okay, sure. And then they were like, "Hey, so you should play in a band with us."
So this podcast is about you and your journey in music. I don't know if you mind touching on the Sunny Day stuff or the Foo Fighters stuff at all. And
yeah, just let it rip. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
I was going to start at the beginning. Where were you born and raised?
Seattle, Washington.
Okay. So you did grow up in Seattle.
I was born at a hospital in Seattle, Virginia Mason, but then I grew up in Kirkland, which is like 11 minutes outside of downtown.
Okay. And what was it like growing up there?
Back then it was pretty cool. It was pretty mellow, it's changed a lot, but it was, it's a suburb basically,
Sure.
Typical suburb.
Was there like a lot of music around, or would you have to go travel into Seattle to catch that?
Well, when I was younger, I was the youngest of 9 kids. So music.
Oh, wow. That's a big
yeah.
deal.
Yeah. So the music, was always there at the house. So they were always playing records all the time. So, it's like Beatles, Earth, Wind and Fire, Stevie Wonder, Steely Dan, Chicago, early Chicago. I could just go on and on. The Who.
Sure. So your family is big into music, or are they musical at all? The rest of the family?
My mother was she was really good with the clarinet, and
cool.
she was a heck of an ice skater as well. But she and then my brother Bryan played drums a little bit, but he didn't really stick with it. But he had a drum kit, and so when I was 5, I would go down there and just sort of stare at it for a while, So,
So did he keep playing or no?
Not really, no. And then he loaned the drum kit out to actually some friends of my other brothers, and they never returned him.
So you didn't even get to jump on that kit.
No, I know. So it sucks because we had a kit and then it was gone. And then I begged for a kit from the age of 5 until finally they gave in when I was 13. So.
Okay. So at 13 is when you started to really learn drums?
Yeah. Would have liked to have started earlier, but.
I guess it didn't really matter, right? If you look at the longevity of your career.
Oh, it mattered. It mattered, but.
Think so?
Well, to a certain degree, yeah. I mean, starting at the younger you start, I think the better it's going to be for the long run. But
sure.
But it's just the way that it was.
Okay. So at 13, you get the kit. Were you playing any other instruments prior to that?
No. I just was focused on the drums. That's what I wanted to do. So.
Okay. And what do you start? Do you start trying to learn people's songs or play along to records? How did you get into it?
Yeah, I was kind of a bit of an ADHD nightmare kid, whatever. So, but they didn't have an understanding of what that was then. So, so taking lessons was not really the best approach for me. I couldn't latch onto that. And so I just basically would set up my brother's old stereo with these big speakers behind me and try to learn how to play like Led Zeppelin beats.
Oh, wow.
And the Who and stuff as much as possible. I was also really, really into Rush, Permanent Waves, and 2112.
So you really went for like the hardest stuff to play. It sounds like Keith Moon, Bomb.
I'm not saying I could successfully.
Sure, but it wasn't like you just started picking up like a Ringo beat. Right?
No. Well, no, but Ringo is actually a phenomenal drummer. Like the musicality behind his approach is something to not take for granted. That's for sure.
Really?
Oh,
why does he always get trashed then? I don't understand. I guess I'm not a drummer, so I don't really get it.
So from where I come from and all the musicians I know, Ringo never gets trashed. Ringo's always recognized as being a very important
interesting
drummer. Very, very orchestral, very musical drummer. Yeah,
that's good to know because there's always those jabs at him like, oh, is Ringo the best drummer in the world? No, he's not even the best one in the Beatles. And,
well, yeah. I mean, there really, in the grand scheme of things, there really is no such thing as the best drummer in the world because it's all about individual self-expression.
Sure.
So you know what I mean. So you can say that's my favorite drummer or whatever, but ultimately, it's just each person
expressing themselves individually, and everybody's different.
Sure.
So,
No, you make a great
um,
point. I just was
yeah.
curious because a lot of people I've heard, read or whatever. Not
Yeah,
that I'm a
yeah.
drummer, so I wouldn't have any clue, but that
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense. I mean, he's in the biggest band in the world, right?
Sure.
I mean, ever. So it would
Yeah.
make sense that he probably has some skill set.
Yeah. No, he was. Yeah. No, he was very good. Very good. Yeah. He's
Cool.
very good.
Yeah, is very good for sure, for sure. So you're playing along to these records. When do you start playing with people, like trying to form a band?
Right at that exact same time, right when I got my drum kit, I basically just I recruited a couple of my classmates in 8th grade, and they didn't play anything, but I was like, well, we'll figure something out. So, I had a friend who had a keyboard, and then we got a little amp with a microphone, and it was terrible, obviously. But you had to start somewhere.
Of course.
And then when I got to high school, they went to the same high school that I did, and which was O'Day High School in Seattle. And I met this other guy who was going there named John Atkins, and he actually could really play the bass. And I was like, oh, I was like meeting a magician, I was like, oh my Lord, wow, you actually know how to do it. So then started playing. We tried to continue the same band, and then we tried to bring in John Atkins, this guy named Ray Crockett who could play guitar a little bit, and a guy named Steve Nordstrom. And it was just basically all of our friends. We were like, oh, we'll all be in a big band, even if you can't do something. And then as time went on, John Atkins and I, the one who could really play bass, kind of broke away and started our own project where he actually was playing guitar and singing, called The 13. So yeah. And so that's where I really sort of started to explore like actual like playing and like song arrangements and finding that spark with someone, which I found with him. So yeah.
Okay. And you put in the band called The 13. Did you do that for a while?
Yeah. I was up until like from freshman year until basically till senior year. And then also the senior year though, Jeremy Enoch from Sunny Day Real Estate asked me if I would join this hardcore band that he was in. And so I did that, and they were actually playing shows. So that's where I kind of got introduced to that world. And then it went from there. And I mean, it's a long story. There's a lot of twists and turns, but so yeah. And then right when I graduated from high school, I started also playing drums in a band called Positive Greed, and they were going on tour. So right 2 weeks out of high school, I went on my first tour and kind of just didn't stop from that point.
Wow.
Yeah.
How did your family react to that? Did they mind that you were like, I'm gonna leave high school and just go straight on tour?
Yeah, my mom was okay with it, or just accepted it. My father and I, we butted heads on it quite a bit.
I can imagine. Yeah.
Yeah.
How was that first tour? Did it kind of spark your love for doing this forever?
Well, yeah. I mean, it was like an adventure,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, it was just a really, really interesting experience. And it's like camp on wheels. No, I don't know. It's yeah, it was just a very interesting experience, and it was very cool to meet people like the people that the other bands that we were playing with, like especially this band called Anti-Schism.
Mm-hmm.
Developed quite a bond with them, and so it was just cool. You meet people, and you're like, most everybody's kind of like a little family for 6 weeks.
Sure.
It is.
Yeah. You did that for a while. How long were you doing that until Sunny Day started?
Well, so the band that I was in, the hardcore band with Jeremy called Reason for Hate, we kind of broke up. And I was doing Positive Greed, but then Reason for Hate got back together. And so I was playing with them. And then Kevin Bird from one of those bands that we were touring with, Anti-Schism, he lived in South Carolina. He moved to Seattle, and I started a third band with him called the Igloo Sect. And then where I was living, all of a sudden Nate Mendel and Dan Horner from what was to be Sunny Day started coming over and hanging out at the house that I lived at a lot. And everybody was like, it's weird. We know these guys, but we've never really hung out with them. And now they're coming over all the time. And
So it turns out that Positive Greed had recorded like I don't know, 7 or 8 songs or something, and they had heard that recording,
Mhm.
and they're like, the two of them wanted to do a project, and they were like, oh, we should get that drummer. So that's why they started coming over, and they started coming over and hanging out and being, like, starting conversations with me, and then saying, hey, do you want to go for a walk? I'd be like, okay, sure. And then they were like, hey, so you should play in a band with us. And I was like, okay, sure. So then that was a 4th band. And so then, I was getting a little bit, I was spread pretty thin. And then also
you must have been getting pretty burnt out, I would imagine.
Yeah. Cause I was working, a regular job, as a courier during the day for, 8 hours. And then I'd have like on an average of 2 to 3 practices a night. So it was pretty crazy. So, so then as time went on, it ended up being sort of whittled down and ended up just doing the band with Dan and Nate,
Mhm.
which was called, we had several names, but at that time it was called Empty Set. And then Jeremy started coming over and hanging out, and I started introducing Dan to Jeremy's secret, songs that he would record by himself in his room, that were definitely not hardcore. They were,
Mhm.
These really beautiful songs that he'd been doing by himself since he was, God, 13, 14, and we were all just blown away by it. It was like, this person, like, quietly discovering fire by himself in his room. And so and in the hardcore world, coming across someone who actually can sing and just has a natural sort of ability to sing is like water in the desert. That's why so many bands that I was in, it's like nobody could sing, so they would just scream. So yeah, unfortunately, but so then Jeremy started opening up for Empty Set, which Empty Set actually became Sunny Day Real Estate before Jeremy joined. And he started opening up just like acoustically for us at some shows. And then Nate went on tour with his other band, Christ on a Crutch. He went to Europe. And while he was gone, we did a little experiment where we started a little project called Thief Steal Me a Peach, where Jeremy sang and played guitar, Dan played bass, and I played drums, obviously. And that was the beginning of, that's where the very first, some of the first songs that ended up being Sunny Day Real Estate came from. So when Nate got back, we were like, hey, we started doing this, and it's kind of better than the 46 songs that we've written without him, with Dan singing. I mean, I was really, really into what we were doing before, but I mean, and Dan did his best to try to sing, but it was still like a screaming-ish kind of thing.
So still a little hard. It was more hardcore.
A little bit ish. Yeah. It's hard
Okay.
to, it's a very strange music, to be honest, but it's
Okay.
hard to explain, but I'll send you some of it and you can hear it and you'll know.
Really?
But
I would love
yeah,
that.
Yeah,
oh my
yeah.
gosh.
So we did that, and we actually played a show with the three of us called we called ourselves Thief Steal Me a Peach. I know, all these ridiculous names. It's
But they're good. I like it.
Yeah, I don't know. The Sunny Day Real Estate one is, I don't know if I would categorize it as good. It's bizarre.
It's legendary, man. I mean, that's,
Well,
I don't know. In the world I came up with, in the bands I grew up listening to, you guys were like,
well,
next level.
Well, the band ended up really defining the name eventually over time. So it doesn't matter how dumb your name is. If the band is authentic, then it'll make the name authentic. But if you throw that all aside, the name is kind of silly. But so then when Nate got back from tour, we basically said, hey, we're doing this, and we're thinking maybe we should make this the thing, and kind of just sort of ditch all the songs, which was hard to do because, like I said, it was a lot of songs. So Nate was like, prove it to me. So we had to sit, and Nate sat on the couch, and we had to basically play these songs for him. And then when we got done, he goes, okay. So then he basically he was like, so show me, Dan, show me what you were doing on bass right there. So then Nate just basically just played the bass parts that Dan came up with. Dan moved to second guitar. Jeremy stayed, on guitar and vocals. So
so I'm sorry, I'm really just curious. So when Nate was gone, what that first band was, Jeremy wasn't in it, right?
Yeah. Well, so before Nate left.
Yeah.
Yeah, that band was,
bands.
that was, I know it's very confusing. It was Dan and Nate and I. And then Jeremy was kind of opening up for us acoustically.
Right. And then he left, Jeremy joined in with you guys.
Yeah.
But the songs that you had together, like the 40 plus songs, were those all written by Dan?
Both by Dan
Nate
and
Nate. All three of you.
Yeah. We all arranged and wrote all the songs together.
So then when Jeremy comes in, he's what, like Nate's probably sitting there thinking, okay, is he going to work within the how the band sonically was going to work out? Okay.
Yeah, sure. And the new songs we were doing with Jeremy were kind of, different, but I mean, like, so songs like Song About an Angel.
Okay.
And which is from the first Sunny Day record, Diary, and then also a song called Rodeo Jones, which was on the second record, but actually was recorded during Diary. But just
really,
yeah. So those are two of the songs that I could think of off the top of my head that were part of the Thief Steal Me a Peach project with Jeremy and Dan and I. And
interesting.
Okay. So that was the beginning of that, and then there was a bunch of other songs we did. And a couple of them I went back and listened to because there was a live video of that one show we did. And I listened to a couple of them. And I mean, granted, they were rough around the edges, but overall, I was like, gosh, I don't know why we ditched those ones, but oh well. But so yeah, so then that's how that happened. And then then we started playing some shows with Jeremy, but it was hard. It was hard to get any shows. There was a period of time where all ages shows were illegal because of this teen dance ordinance thing. So
really,
it was kind of like Footloose. And
oh my gosh, yeah, that's crazy.
It was weird. So you could only play shows in clubs and stuff. And so for the longest time, and even when they started to lift that teen dance ordinance, it was still hard for us to get some shows, or people were still trying to pull all ages shows together. So, and the whole Seattle thing was kind of becoming what it was
with like Nirvana and Soundgarden and Pearl Jam and all that.
Yeah, all that. And so to play in any of the local like clubs, like say Op Ramp or Rock Candy or the Crocodile or whatever, you kind of had to have an in. You had to like know somebody, they had to know you. And so we were so far removed from that world, from this hardcore scene, that like anytime Nate tried to call to get us a show, they would just pretty much hang up on him. So what happened is there was a band that was supposed to be playing at the Crocodile called Engine Kid that was going to be playing with another band called Skirt, and Engine Kid had to cancel, and so they recommended to Eric Soderstrom, who booked the Crocodile, that he have us play in their place. So then we played that show, and he basically said, hey, as an experiment, I'm going to put you guys on the Sub Pop Party show coming up, playing first, just to see what happens.
Oh, wow.
So he did that, and there was like one or two people in the room watching us play. And when we finished playing, one of those two, that one person, whatever, walked up to us and said, hey, do you guys want to make a record? And we started laughing, and we were like, we just didn't process,
Right.
And he said, I'm sorry, I'm Jonathan Poneman from Sub Pop Records. Do you guys want to make a record? And we were like, oh, sure. Okay. Yeah. So that's how that started. And
oh my gosh.
Yeah. It went
just from that one time slot. If you wouldn't have got that one time slot, to think of like,
yeah.
I mean, the band's so good. And obviously, I mean, if you look at the emo world, I don't even know if you guys even approach it in that way at all. I mean, it really wasn't a genre quite, really.
Yeah, I mean, so the whole emo thing came from an article that I believe was written about Rites of Spring,
Uh-huh.
and as a way of describing them, I guess. And so, but I don't know, the whole emo thing, I guess that means emotional, but
Right.
to say that like human emotions being the driving force behind creativity or art or music is a new thing doesn't make sense, because it's always been that way.
Not at all.
So
Right.
I don't totally get it. It is what it is. People need to, I don't know. It doesn't.
Right. No,
it
I
doesn't-
totally understand. I get where you're
it
coming
doesn't,
from. But
yeah.
to me, it's funny because I grew up in like seeing, the Taking Back Sunday bands. Like when they were first starting, those were the bands I saw and then would backtrack, right? And then it's like, oh, Lifetime, okay, oh, American Football, okay,
Yeah.
whoever, Sunday Day Real Estate.
Mhm.
But now if you were to ask half the kids on the street, like name an emo band, it's like My Chemical Romance. Like to me, it's just crazy. But when you look at Diary was on Rolling Stone, it's the #1 record of the 40 greatest emo records of all time, and it really is.
Yeah, I don't know.
Stands the test of time, and
yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Yeah,
no, go ahead.
I don't know. It's it doesn't really bother me that much, but it also it doesn't logically make sense to me, but it is what it is.
Sure. Well, you were there creating the scene, right? I mean,
well, no, no, not really. We were just another band that was just trying to experiment with going from hardcore to space and actual like space for melody and like song arrangement and more elaborate storytelling, as opposed to just in your face kind of more like protest music. You know what I mean?
No, yeah. I get it. I totally understand. And I see where you're coming from totally on the emo thing, but I just find it fascinating because not to butter your bread or whatever, but like you guys did really create this new scene or genre of music.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. I have no idea.
I guess
I have no idea.
Asking Eddie Vedder about grunge. You know what I mean?
I don't know. I mean, ultimately, really, if you are gonna backtrack it properly, it was really like Rites of Spring, really would be like the foundation of a lot of it. So they're the initial spark that.
Okay.
And that's they were the ones that were referred to as emo in an article. So that's where it all started. So we had nothing to do with it. Just things just happened the way it just happened the way it happened. Yeah. So
sure,
it is what it is,
Right. But okay, so you put out Diary, and it's this amazing record, and you signed up for Sub Pop. What was that moment like?
Really surreal, because like when I was in high school, I started getting into the whole sort of like sub pop sort of thing that was going on, and listening to a lot of local bands, and just, it was exciting for us because we were like, wow, these people are, it's they're not like these like virtuoso, whatever, hyper trained musicians. They're from the punk rock world, and they're self-taught, and they're expressing themselves, and they're making music, and they're out there doing it, and actually making records and putting them out. And to me, that was like this weird, like impossible sort of like thing off in the distance that never thought I would achieve. So yeah, I mean, it was a very inspiring thing, that whole Sub Pop, everything that was coming out of Sub Pop. It was very cool. So then to end up being on the label was kind of a surreal experience. It was like, whoa, this is totally bizarre. So yeah.
And
especially since we are so removed. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you again.
No, I'm interrupting you. I'm sorry.
No. And so, especially since we were so removed from that whole scene, the hardcore scene, it was like two separate worlds. So to accidentally get, brought over there was a strange thing,
Sure. Wow. And then you obviously played with the Foo Fighters a little bit there in the beginning. Nate still plays with them now.
Yeah. That was toured for 17 months. Yeah.
That's crazy. Like, were you pretty tight knit with the guys in Nirvana at all? Or like, how did that work?
No. I really liked Nirvana a lot. So, but
No, so I think Nate had gone bowling with Dave a couple of times.
Okay.
And
I would love to
And-
be there, like a fly on the wall.
Yeah.
Watching Dave Grohl bowl.
I don't know. But I know that I think that they had done that a couple times and sort of hung out. And Sunny Day was basically we had decided that we were going to break up, and Jeremy was gonna leave the band, and so we just sort of had to accept it as a reality. So even though we were broken up, we recorded we recorded the Pink record, or we didn't know it was going to be the Pink record, but that record. And then we did one last tour, even though we were broken up, with Shudder to Think and Soul Coughing for part of it. Brainiac was on another part of it. So we did that tour, and at the end of that tour, we played the last two shows at the Black Cat and in DC. And afterwards, I was sitting in the bar area, and someone put one of the people that worked there put a little folded napkin or something on the table in front of me, and walked away. And then I opened it and said, Dave Grohl would like you to call him, and it had a phone number. So then I called him, and he basically said, he said, your band's in the, well, I don't want to swear on here. I don't know if
you can swear.
Okay,
Say whatever
right.
you want. Yeah. No,
he said your band is in the shitter, huh? And I said, yeah, it's flushed. And he goes, hey, well, do you want a jam? And I was like, what, 2 drums? What do you mean? And he was like, no. He was like, me playing guitar. And I was like, oh, okay, sure. So then when I got back home, he and I got together and jammed, and then Nate came over, the 3 of us jammed. And then he said, I'm thinking Pat's gonna want to do it too. And Pat came up, and then it just started from there. And then we barely even had any time to really, like, because he had all these songs that he had already recorded, and he was like, these are the songs. And then we basically didn't have very much time to sort of like really integrate ourselves into them before we were having to like play shows. It was just like,
right, because he was obviously a name at this point, because Nirvana was so successful.
Yeah. Well, yeah, obviously. So yeah. So it was kind of just all of a sudden, ready or not, here we go. And it was pretty crazy. So it was all a very surreal experience. It was all very surreal.
Were you playing different venue sizes with the Foo Fighters in the beginning, or was it similar to what you're doing with Sunny Day?
We played like a secret show at a warehouse, and then we played a secret show at the Velvet Elvis, and then we played somewhere in Portland, and I can't remember where it was, but and then we went on tour with Mike Watt and Hovercraft, and we were Mike Watt's band for most of that tour. So, and then I started a little ways into the tour, I started playing with Hovercraft as well. So then I was doing 3 sets a night for a while, which was kind of crazy, but
gosh.
And I know I got a little sick, like super hot and sweaty, cold, super hot, sweaty, cold, super hot, sweaty, cold, that kind of thing. So, but whatever, it was fine. And so we did that tour, and then after that, we just didn't stop touring. I mean, we toured for 17 months. So it was crazy,
Oh my gosh.
It's a little difficult. Like that much time on the road is, especially when you're the age I was, where your feet aren't even really quite off the ground or on the ground yet. Like you're not really, you haven't fully pulled your head out of your ass at that point.
Right.
And so when you spend that much time, not being surrounded by anything that's a reflection of who you are, and that much time playing drum parts that essentially aren't even really yours, you kind of start to like lose
yourself a little bit. So yeah, it was a little
Right.
bit-
It's probably
yeah.
not it's not as easy to be attached to the songs, I would think, if it's just given to you.
Yeah, well, yeah, it was strange in that regard. And then also it was you know, and then when you're touring that much and you're playing the songs that many times night after night, they almost stop making sense. You know, it's like being a kid and experimenting with saying one word over and over to yourself again until it just sort of starts to feel and sound weird and you don't understand why the sound is even there and represents what it does. So
Sure.
I don't know if you've ever done that, but
No, I totally understand what you're saying. Yeah.
yeah.
It makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense.
So yeah, that was a weird experience. And it was surreal. It was also surreal just because, you know, it was like a year after Kurt had died. And so it was just all so very bizarre and surreal, you know, just all of a sudden being, you know, like being from that hardcore world, and then all of a sudden, like, you know, being on Sub Pop was surreal. And then all of a sudden being in that environment was just, it was just a very strange experience, kind of. Yeah.
No, I could totally see that. Yeah. It just, now you're in the spotlight of this weird kind of situation where now Nirvana's drummer is now this, you know, forming this band. And I remember it was a big article in Rolling Stone. I could still vividly remember the Rolling Stone magazine with that announced, like, you know, Foo Fighters, and had the ray gun on the cover. And it was this huge thing, like, you know, Nirvana's drummer is starting a band. And like, it was, I would imagine it being a weird kind of thing to be part of there in the beginning.
Yeah. And I wouldn't even say I wouldn't really say I was in the spotlight. I was just so happened to be standing next to it, or a fly on the wall, you know, in the spotlight. It was, you know what I mean? It had nothing to do with me. That's
right.
Sure. Yeah.
And then you guys got back together with Sunny Day pretty quickly after the Foo Fighters thing, and put a record out.
Yeah. So after I left the Foo Fighters, then I was going down. I was kind of disenchanted a little bit, and I was trying to find inspiration again, and was playing with a few people. This guy Pete Kramiak, who played guitar in Verbal Assault and another band called Rain Like the Sound of Trains, kind of forced me to get back on the drums and play, and so that was really cool of him. And then I was playing with a band called the Replicants for a while down there, and jammed with a few other people, and then got the call that there was an idea to maybe like put out a new Sunny Day record that had maybe some old different versions of some songs, and then maybe track a few songs to go with it. But ultimately we just decided to write an entire record and put it out. So, and that was How It Feels. So we just started working on the songs, and they just they were happening. And so we're like, all right, well, let's just do a record. So.
Wow. And that's where that third album came from.
Yeah. And then we were like, well, we I guess we could go on tour too. So we did that, and it went well. We Jeff Palmer played bass on the record, and then Joe Skyward, who unfortunately passed away a little while ago, he played bass on the tours for that. And then after that we did the Rising Tide, and then Nick McCree from Euphone and Heroic Doses, and Greg Saran, a friend of ours who's played with so many people. Like he's the house guitar player for, I think, American Idol now.
Oh wow.
Yeah. He's like a phenomenal guitar player, and he was playing with Joe Walsh for a while.
Dang. Wow.
Yeah. You know, he's just, you know, he's
like a legendary person.
Yeah. And he's just a phenomenal musician. And Nick McCree is just an unbelievable bass player. And Sunny Day Real Estate would take a band, the Heroic Doses, on tour a lot. Like when Joe Skyward was playing bass, like we would always take Heroic Doses or Euphone. And Heroic Doses was Bill Dolan, Nick McCree, and Ryan Rapsis. And then Euphone was Ryan Rapsis and just Nick McCree. Ryan Rapsis is a drummer that is just unbelievably amazing. and Bill Dolan is one of my favorite guitar players of all time, and Nick McCree is also one of my favorite bass players. And they would basically just blow us away every single night. And so we would take them on tour to open up for us because it kind of pushed us to improve. I'm not saying we did. I think I have more now, but but it was but also what was great about those guys is they were such amazing players, minus the ego that went with it. You know what I mean? They were humble but mind-blowing musicians. And so that was really cool. And we became really, really good friends with them. So it was both being inspired, pushed to improve, being able to hang out with your friends, and also just being able to watch them play every night. So, yeah. So then that's how Nick McCree ended up playing bass for Sunny Day and the Rising Tide tours, is because, we were like, we needed a bass player. And I was like, well, it's kind of a no-brainer. Like, you should ask Nick if he'll do it. And then he introduced us to Greg Saran, and then they basically came in and helped with those tours. And then Nick also played bass in the Fire Theft whenever Nate couldn't make it. So Nick
because Nate was on tour with Foo Fighters.
Yeah, so like it was a thing where we had this sort of like rotating thing where Nick was playing keyboards for the Fire Theft, and then Nate would play bass. And then when Nate had to leave or had to play shows elsewhere, Nick slid in and took over the bass, and then our friend Josh took over the keys. So yeah, it's pretty wacky. But,
wow. And then you did the Fire Theft for a while though, right?
Yeah, but not that long. It was I guess from 2000 to 2004. I have a weird time with time.
Yeah. No. So, I mean, you've been through a lot of bands. You've done a lot. It's been a very successful long career for you. Yeah, Fire Theft, and you had. After that, you had some other projects going on, and then Sunny Day got back together again. What?
Yeah. So, well, I had a band. Yeah, I had a project that I was doing for that was called Brawley Banks, that started in maybe 2006-ish, 7-ish, around there. And I was also doing a little project and doing some recording with Bill Dolan, that guitar player I was telling you about. And actually just learning. He was basically coming out and playing with me until I got better. Like he was helping me improve, like, oh wow. But I mean, those guys, so many of the musicians from Chicago are just, they're such the bar is way up here. So so I was doing some stuff with Bill Dolan, and then also playing in a band for a little bit called Iku with Kento Oiwan, Michiko Swiggs, and then started the Brawley Banks thing. Then a year went where I didn't play because my brother shot himself in the head, and it kind of really messed me up. And I kind of shut down a little bit. And then
imagine, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Oh, it is. Yeah, no, it's fine. Thank you. But I mean, so then I stopped for about a year, and then was doing the Brawley Banks thing, and then a whole laundry list of people that were close to me just started dropping like flies, and like, I mean, just dying one after the other. It was like
rough.
It really started to mess with me. But we got the call about doing the Sunny Day reunion, and then so the Brawley Banks project was kind of put on hold. We were working on a record. I went and did that, and it was an interesting experience. It was pretty cool, but and at the same time, I was also struggling with all these people that dying. I mean, it was really messing with me. And I could sit here and just list them off, but I mean, it would just go on and on and on. And it felt weird. It felt like you were almost being chased by death. I hate to say, it's really weird,
And it started to really affect me. And then Sunny Day went, after those tours were done, Sunny Day went and tried to record some songs at the 606 studio in Los Angeles. And we worked on it, I guess, for a few weeks or so. And you know, it's a difficult thing because, you know, we were sort of given so much time. And, you know, so if you're a singer and you play guitar and you come up with songs, it's natural for the vocal melodies to be rising up out of you when it's connected to another, you know, guitar melody or part that's also rising out of you.
Mhm.
But if you are in a situation where, say, there's a riff by someone else presented to you and you have to integrate yourself to that vocally, to that, it takes time. It takes a lot more time, you know.
Mhm.
And so for that Sunny Day, you know, project where we recorded those songs, we were not given that time. There was not that time allowed. So it was basically like, so get this happening now or not, you know?
Oh, it was like a under the gun situation where they're like,
Yeah,
finish this
yeah,
now or it's not
yeah,
going to happen.
yeah. Where it was like, yeah, like get the ball rolling. And there was just not enough time. And therefore there was not enough support. And so and then, you know, once Nate lost interest, then the management company that he was connected to was overseeing the whole thing. And once he lost interest, then it's like all the support was just gone.
Oh,
So
pulled out of it.
yeah, it was just all of a sudden not there anymore. And I only really found out about what happened years later. All I knew at the time was that I was supposed to get a phone call up, and we were going to have a conference call with the four of us about finishing the record, and the phone never rang. And then at the same time, I had gone back home, and the Brawley Banks thing fizzled out because our bass player moved to Guam, our guitar player quit, and it fell apart. So it was kind of frustrating for me because I was working on this record and they both just went and were gone. And so then combine that with just all the people dying, and I kind of just felt like, you know, you feel kind of like you're being chased by death, and some force is preventing you from being able to make music and have it come to fruition. And so I was kind of just disenchanted, and I mean, I can only describe what I was going through as kind of a PTSD thing with all the people dying, and then I could also kind of describe it, what I was going through as far as the music thing, is like a musical PTSD, where I was like, okay, that's it, fine. I was like, okay, you win, you know. It's like, whatever it is like, if you don't want me to play, fine, fuck you,
Right.
I'm out of here. So, and I literally fell off the face of the earth. I moved to California. I met who is the mother of my children now, and moved to California, and we were living together down there, and then, you know, started to have a family, and then just sort of did that, and basically avoided music for around 9 years. So,
oh, wow.
yeah. And not only did I not play music, I didn't listen to it, didn't want to hear anything, didn't want to even hear it, didn't want to think about it at all.
Oh,
So
you just totally blocked it out. Just not. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, completely removed it from my life. So then what happened was I met a guy named Justin Tamminga, and he had reached out to me basically to express like appreciation for Sunny Day stuff that he had been inspired by, and I guess, and which was really nice and stuff. But then and then I was looking further into what he was doing, and he was
teaching music to children and also teaching music and drums to children with autism. And I have a son.
Wow.
I have a son who has who is on the spectrum.
Same
so to
here.
speak. Oh, okay, yeah. So
And I also got him a drum set during this quarantine. That's so cool. I got him an electric one because we were living in a townhome with a guy, you know, shared wall. So I'm like, to save my neighbor from wanting to kill me, we got him an electric drum kit.
That's cool.
And
yeah.
It's kind of a way that he can get out some of, you know.
Yeah. Although it's for me, it's right now, it's our youngest daughter who seems to be taking the biggest interest in the drums. But Logan, he sometimes will sit down, but he's been I don't know, shy about it or intimidated by it. I'm not sure. So I'm just, you know, I'm not sure what's going to happen with that. I'm going to, when the time feels right, I'm going to try to get him to see if
slowly ease into it.
Yeah. But Myra is all over it. And then Araya, our oldest daughter, she can already play drums a bit. So that's cool.
Wow.
So, but I saw that, and that was very interesting to me. And then I discovered his band with his children called Pig Snout, Dahlia and Justin Tamminga. And not only were the songs really, really amazing, but it was just also really cool that it was this band with this dad and his 2 kids, and they were writing these great songs. And but aside from that, what hit me is I saw this guy sharing that part of himself with his children, and it was this slap of reality. Like I was like, not only am I not sharing this part of myself with my children, I'm hiding it from them. I'm not even, they don't have no idea. And so I realized that I needed to make a change. And so that's when I decided to start playing again. And so Justin and I, just from Justin Tamminga from Pig Snout, we just basically, he started coming over and he started kind of kicking me like a horse, and we started playing, and then we would play again. And then all of a sudden song ideas started to come, and then we started to write these songs. And then we asked our friend Bryan, who Justin plays in a band called Blind Guides with, and Brian Gorder. And so then Bryan started coming out and playing bass, and then we just started writing songs, and it went from there. And I started again.
Oh,
took a little while to shake off the cobwebs, but you know, there was definitely a physical sort of adjustment that I had to make. You know, I had to build my endurance level back up.
Right. I mean, as a drummer, I can't even imagine like trying to get back into shape, so to speak. Right.
Yeah. You know, like, you know, playing for, you know, a couple hours, and all of a sudden you start to feel like these knots in your arms and stuff. And so took me a little while to get through that, but I did. And the way I got through that was just play. I just started playing every single day. So yeah, and then we started recording. We played some shows, we started recording.
What was it like to play those shows, like after coming back for so long? Was it something that excited you?
Yeah, no, it was cool. It was I guess what was good about it was so like in the past, I would be like so in my head, and like if things didn't go as planned during the show, or if like you know, like I feel like I wasn't at the best, or how, you know, where I wanted to be as far as that performance, I was hyper self-critical, and then also would just destroy myself after the show, would just basically get so depressed I didn't even want to see anyone, talk to anyone. So what was cool is we played those shows, and a few things went south, and I didn't even affect me. I just was like, you know, I was able to just sort of roll with it and not get in my head. I think having kids helps that. I think it puts things into perspective a little bit. But also, you know, I mean, I'd done a lot of work on myself. I'd gone from, you know, heavy drinking and drug use in the earlier days to stopping all that, and 7 years of martial arts training, and then and trying to, you know, clean my digestive system. Also
did several years of rolfing, which is basically where they break down your muscle tissue with pressure and time to have it rebuild itself to where it should be before you injured it.
Really?
Yeah. It's physically, it's very challenging. It's kind of painful.
Okay.
But if you
It's
learn
like
how to
cupping where they
no. It's like very, very strong, big woman from Tasmania and elbows and her,
and my God.
and her body weight. So, so that was a great thing. So I'd done quite a bit of work on myself trying to basically get out of the weird sort of self-loathing, self-destructive mindset, just stop identifying with thoughts when your brain is sort of like getting carried away with itself and thinking that it's in the driver's seat and observing the thoughts and realizing that that's all they are, that kind of a thing. So yeah. So that's pretty much. So that's and then it's gone from there. We pretty much started recording. The lockdown happened, so we're like, oh well, let's just keep recording. What are we gonna do? So then we recorded, and then we made the first record. Met John Fraser, who runs Spartan Records, and he said, hey, I'll put it out. So we were like, great. And then lockdown was still happening, so then we just kept recording, and so now our second record is about 85% done.
Wow.
And so we just need to finish vocals on a couple songs and mix it. I've been saying it's 85. So basically it was like almost finished, but then we started playing shows again. And then, so that kind of has slowed down that recording process because we've been focusing on getting the live set together. So so then we've been working on that. So
but Intermission wasn't released that long ago, right? It was released this year.
Yeah. Correct. Yeah. I mean,
you guys are working hard.
Well, we were halfway. Well, there was just nothing else to, we couldn't play shows. So we were we were really inspired and the songs were coming. So yeah. And I mean, I'm really, really, really excited about the next record. Like everything that we learned from making the first record was the starting point for making the second record. So it's been good. And it's the songs are I'm really proud of Intermission, our first record, but the next record, which is going to be called Basking in the Gaslight, is that we raised the bar on that quite a bit. So
wow.
Songwriting wise, and then also production wise. So
that's cool. I'm curious real quick to back up for a half a second here. So you kind of you kept music away, or you hid that part of your life for such a long time. Did you not have like a drum kit in your house, like none of that, or you just
no, I my drum kit. I basically just sort of kept with me traveling, and I would just stored it basically.
Did your kids know you played drums or had that side of your life, or no?
Well, our older daughter, Araya, she knew because Channery, her mom, she had told her, and she would play her some stuff.
Okay, yeah, I didn't know if this was something that you were like, you got the, you're sharing with them, and they're like, oh my gosh, like what? My dad was in this huge band.
No, Araya knew, and Araya started to get an understanding of a little bit as over time as to why I wasn't playing. Araya really, really liked Jeremy's voice, and so she really liked the Fire Theft and Sunny Day stuff. So, but she would just listen to it, separately from me.
Right. I was just curious if they even knew that what you had done and what you had accomplished as a drummer.
But with the little ones, I mean, so Mayura is now 4 and Logan is 6. So for them, it's been, so they're still pretty new to the landscape of everything. So
sure.
So for them, it was like an all of a sudden, you know, this
Wait,
is
what?
happening.
Yeah.
They were introduced to it without any sort of comprehension of the backstory for obvious reasons. They're, you know, they're new to the world, and you know,
Right.
So,
okay.
and the backstory is so complicated. How do you begin to explain it? But so
you can plan an episode of this podcast.
Yeah. But even then they'd be like, huh? But so now there, and what was really cool is we played a show recently with Pig Snout.
Oh, cool.
And what we did is there were some Pig Snout songs where both bands were up playing together, and Dahlia and I were both on drums, and then there was a song where Lucian and I were both on drums, and then they played on some Assertion songs. So that was really cool, kind of a full circle thing there. And then that was Logan and Araya's second show, their first being Pig Snout 3 years ago, actually. And then that was Mayura's first show ever, but all three of them, it was their first time ever seeing me play a show.
Wow.
So that
was that special?
Oh yeah, it was a huge thing. It only kind of really occurred to me after the fact. I don't know if I think it was just such a crazy thing that this is the first time they were going to see me doing this, that I don't think my brain would allow me to process it yet.
Mm-hmm.
So, but no, it was great. And Mayura actually sat on my lap for one of the songs, and that was cool.
Wow,
so
that's really cool.
And then
really cool.
Yeah, and then Logan helped me break down my drums and pack them up afterwards. So it was a very special, cool experience.
That sounds so cool.
Yeah.
And the record is amazing. Were you able to record that? Like, where were you able to record that, and how did that process go? I'm just curious because of a lockdown. Oh, right in their room there.
Yeah. We recorded just in this room above my garage. That's where we record everything.
Oh, cool. So
it's
easier than what I was thinking. You had to like travel or try to like work with some engineer and some studio, and everything's locked down.
Yeah. Justin's the engineer. Justin's the producer. I try to help engineer, and I produce as far as lending in an objective ear to what we're working on. But as far as the heavy lifting is concerned, Justin's the guy that deserves the Purple Heart for all that. But yeah, no, and we Justin and I just got into a rhythm where 2 times a month he would come over from Friday until Monday, and from Friday to Monday we would just write, record, experiment, and just go crazy. And we just been inspired, and we have a very cool sort of it's very cool when you can have like an egoless collaboration with someone, to where you're basically exchanging ideas and getting to this point where you couldn't have gotten to that point without the musical and or sort of spiritual exchange or conversation. It's like those 3 scientists that came up with that M theory thing. The only reason it came into existence was because the 3 of them had this conversation on a long train ride. And it was that conversation and interaction and collaboration that led to that theory, which was so crazy and insane. And the similar thing, it's like when you're able to collaborate with someone like that, you can create music that is a sort of a level up as far as just really expressing and authentically expressing your humanity, or documenting the human experience all around. Kind of hard to explain, but so
there's like an energy when you guys play.
Well, and when we work together and basically bounce ideas off of each other, and we're willing to try this to make sure that this way to do it is actually the right way, or
it's like a safe space. You don't feel like you're
and then and he and I will always be listening to something, and we'll always agree on whichever is the right way. We'll always be like, oh no, that's the way. So it's great. It's really cool.
That is really cool. And you're already working on the next record, which is almost done, which is cool.
Yeah. I don't know
Stuff.
when. I don't know when exactly we're gonna put it out, but we're gonna try to have it done within the next. We're gonna try to have that record finished. I'm hoping in 2 months.
Wow. Very
hoping.
quickly. That's
Yeah.
cool. Very
hope.
cool.
Yeah.
Are you doing a big tour or anything? Or just
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're so considering that we're all fathers,
yeah.
we all have to be very sort of strategic and selective as far as touring is concerned. So
Mhm.
we have to, we want to go. We're going to go out. We're playing shows. We're going to go do 4 shows in North Carolina, excuse me.
Uh-huh.
Because someone invited us out there to do 4 shows, so we're going to do them. So, but we want to go on a tour, but it needs to be for a reasonable amount of time because we'll be away from our kids, and it has to be a tour that is purposeful and
Right.
not just pounding the pavement to 2 to 6 people a night until people start to actually like maybe catch, you catch.
Right. No, I totally
Yeah.
get it. Yeah, of course. Of course. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's
Yeah,
different,
so-
yeah, you got to approach it a bit differently now that you're
Yeah,
a dad and everyone's
yeah.
a dad and you have to tour. Yeah. I
Yeah,
totally
you
understand
need
that.
to be able to sort of be making some kind of money to be able to like send home to the family, and then also not be gone for too long because children need their fathers. So
Sure.
you know.
Totally agree. Totally agree.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be nice if we could, if we had a bunch of money and we could like just take
All
everybody
jump on the
with.
van, get a big bus and bring the whole family.
Yeah. The problem with touring with a bus is that's pretty much where all the money goes. If you're
Right. Back
you're
into the
making it.
bus.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a nice thing, but you're not going to make very much money. So, yeah. And it's not about money, but I mean, dude,
You got to live and you got to eat and you got to sleep. Right.
and you have children that need to do that as well.
Right.
So,
I get it.
That's the key. So, but yeah.
For sure. Well, thank you so
Cool.
much, William, for talking with me. I really
Yeah.
appreciate it, man. This is so cool to hear this whole story.
Yeah.
Sunny
you.
Day stuff, the new record. I really
Thank you.
appreciate it. Yeah.
Thank you for your time. Yeah, this was
Yeah.
really cool. A lot of fun.
I have
you.
one more question for you before I let you go, though, William.
Yeah,
I want to
yeah,
know if you
yeah,
have any advice for aspiring artists.
Oh gosh. Yeah. Well, there's a lot, but I guess the main one would be, do it for the sake of art and for the sake of expressing yourself and documenting the human experience, and have that be the focus, and not necessarily wanting to get attention or be famous or anything like that, because that's a hollow pursuit. Creating music that is going to connect with people and get them to realize that they're not alone in the human experience. That's the focus, and you focus on that. And if you manage to be able to get some sort of attention or success, as well, then that's a great added bonus. But that success or attention will be the result of people connecting with your music and the expression of humanity that is being conveyed. So essentially, it's going to be more fulfilling if you're focused on the most important aspect of music, which is documenting the human experience.
Bringing it backward.